Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Success in the outer world and happiness within is the ultimate that all of us are seeking in life. However, what happens is, when we are engaged in getting success in the outer world, we forget that there is something which we are seeking is not outside, but it is our own nature. And because of this misunderstanding, ignorance, we keep on getting engaged in the external world to such an extent that we want to create more and more facilities, more comforts, more things available. And then we call that society as a very advanced society, very progressive society. So what is a progressive society? Take an example. This happened somewhere in, New York probably. We were having dinner in somebody's house and they had a child. Lovely food available, different types of ice creams available. And this child is sitting with a swollen face. I said, hey, come on, join. Why don't you take food? No. What happened? So his mother said, Swamiji, he wants a particular type of ice cream. That particular type of ice cream is not available immediately. And he said, unless I get that ice cream, I won't eat. See, ice creams are there, number of them. But the one I want, that is not there. And therefore, my mood is off. And this is what we call a prosperity. So what is prosperity? More the choice we can give to ourselves, more prosperous we are. Lesser the choice we give ourselves, poor we are. See? Therefore, prosperity or success in the outer world can take us to such a height that we discover different ways to become miserable and depressed and dejected. See, depression is a luxury of the filthy rich people. Simple folks are not depressed. See, the reason is more choice. And the real joy of life is lesser the choice you give to yourself, happier you are. But prosperity, the success in the outer world is more the choice we give ourselves, we consider we have become really successful in life. See, friends. And that success is, in fact, a slavery, a bondage. Unless a particular thing is available, I am not happy. See, one day it so happened in Bombay, we had a nice dinner and my friend asked me, Swamiji, do you take pan? I said, yes, I like pan very much. When I go to Ahmedabad, my host, she is a gem. So, I get the best pan of my life when I am staying with them. Calcutta, Mitha Patta, and nice kind of every contents and enjoy after lunch and dinner. When I am there, I eat and enjoy. But when I leave that place, no pan throughout the year, nowhere I get. So, in Bombay, when I told my friend, yes, I eat pan, we were staying, taking lunch somewhere in Cuff Parade. And he said, yes, we'll go and take pan in Juhu, almost 10 miles. Bombay driving 10 miles means takes 10 hours. So much of traffic. You just can't move. So we finished our dinner at 8 o'clock. I said, hey, we'll take from this shop. No, not this one. That shop is the best one. And we were struggling, and with great difficulty we reached to that shop. What was his particular shop? And when we reached there, the shop was closed. Then I told him, my dear friend, remember one principle. If you are hungry, that very moment, if you get simple food, it is better than the nectar. When you are hungry and you don't get, and then you keep on dragging, I want that particular type, by then your hunger is destroyed. Thereafter you get the best food, it is tasteless. See? Therefore, the real success in the outer world is not that prosperity which makes us slave. See? One more example I'll give you. This happened somewhere in Assam in India. Again, somebody's house I went for food. That is my professional hazard. So I had to go to various houses and eat food and tell that it is good, although it is not. So when I went there, that lady I told, I said, Mama, you will become angry with me if I tell you something. No, Swamiji, you tell me anything, I will not become angry. Then I told, your mother-in-law looks smarter, beautiful than you. When I said to her like that, Swamiji, you are 100% right. I agree with you. She was 80 and his daughter-in-law was in her mid-30s. And yet if they stand together, the daughter-in-law was looking like a mother-in-law and the mother-in-law was looking like a daughter-in-law. See the difference, 40 years difference between them. I said, didn't you ask sometime, what is the secret? Then she said, Swamiji, I know the secret because I cook food for her. Her rules are very simple. She will take simple food, rice, little bit of dal, little bit of vegetables, and that's it. Her rule is, she never eats food which is 4 hours older. So morning time, fresh food she takes. You know, in the successful world, most prosperous world, food is kept in the fridge. It comes out of the fridge. That's why, as you know, WWW, here it is FFF, fresh from fridge. So you take out from the fridge the old, dead, useless food and put it into the microwave. And in the microwave, the food is killed. It is not heated. The life of the food is in the kinetic energy which is contained in the food in the form of the heat. And in the microwave, all the molecules are agitated in such a terrible speed that the life of the food is taken out. And that is how the food becomes hot. And thereafter what we eat is a dead food. I call it as a pindadan. You know, in case of the Hindu rites, when somebody dies, then the food is offered to the departed one. And that food is always hot rice, steaming rice. Because the departed ones eat their food only through the mouth of fire or heat. And therefore, the experiments are conducted. When the food is offered to the departed one in a ball, like a cricket ball, hot one, hot rice, keep it there. After the heat goes, it is eaten by the departed soul. Then you try to eat that rice. It tastes like ash. because life has gone out of it. And this is how we are. That old lady, she used to take only fresh food. Cook, eat and finish. Don't keep it pending till the next week. Both times. Second thing, she will never allow anybody to do her work. She will make her bed. She will wash her clothes. She will iron her clothes. Everything herself. And so much at peace. She had all the prosperity, all the servants. She said, I know how to live my life. I don't want to be a slave. If one day the servant doesn't come, see those people who are dependent on servant, how miserable they are. In Bombay, one of my hosts, she told me, Swamiji, when my husband tells that I am coming at 8 o'clock in the evening, and if he doesn't come up to 10 o'clock, I am not worried. But if in the morning my maid servant tells I am coming at 7 o'clock, if she does not turn up by 7:15, my blood pressure shoots. For me, maid servant is more valuable than the husband. See friends, how much dependence. Prosperity leads to dependence. And if this success in the outer world is wrongly understood by us, success means we have got servants available to us for every little thing. And we become only the potato couch, nothing else. Have you seen that movie, Wall-E, or what is that? It's one of the best movies America has produced. Wall-E, I think. Have you seen? Oh, you are all outdated as compared to me. See, this movie came during that, Kung Fu Panda. Have you heard about it?
Yeah.
During that Kung Fu Panda, at the same time this movie was released. And in that movie it is shown how the Americans are creating garbage to such an extent that every day America produces the cans. If you make a 6-lane road from Earth to the moon, every day's number of cans consumed will be that much size. Then as a result, the whole Earth is now covered with the garbage, cans. And out of that, there is one character created, a robo. And how that robo is conducting everything. See, the reason is no efforts. We don't want to cook. We don't want to do anything. Only indulge. Friends, success in the outer world, if it leads to dependence and slavery, it is a failure. It is not a success. See, the number of psychiatrists, the number of attorneys in the prosperous society and in the average society. See the difference. There was one report in India. They also brought medical practice under the Consumer Act. Here it is under Consumer Act. You can sue your doctor for nothing and earn money out of it. The same thing they did there. After 10 years of survey, they concluded the number of medico-legal cases fought in the Indian courts was less than 3.2%. Their approach is different. The approach is why the doctor will kill the patient. If he dies, it is his prarabdha. It is God's will. That kind of inner poise, then only we are attaining a perfect balance between the external prosperity and success and the inner peace. Therefore, friend, if prosperity means we are becoming dependent and extremely susceptible to any discomfort, then that prosperity is not prosperity at all. Such people, they will be either psychological wrecks, depressed, dejected, drugs and what not. See, friends. Therefore, yes, external prosperity is required, but inner peace. Now, next step. When we talk about prosperity, in this prosperity, do we give importance to one or we give importance to the totality? See, it is something like this. Me as a total body is taken into account when we talk about health. Suppose my one leg is having elephantitis, other leg is having polio, and statistically I can say on an average my two legs are normal. Will it be called as a healthy body? If somebody says my lungs are very strong but my heart is not proper, can it be called as a healthy body? So a healthy body is where all the organs, the whole system is perfectly functioning without competition and with supporting each other. In the same manner, our society is a single body. In that single body society, every component of the society is living happily or not. See, friends, in Sanskrit literature, there is one shloka and story comes where it is said, be very attentive. If for the purpose of saving the hand, if it is necessary to chop off one finger, it is wise decision. If for the protection of the total body, it is necessary to chop off one hand, it is wise. If it is necessary for the welfare of the total state, a town or a village has to be sacrificed, it is a wise decision. Where is our attention? On individual or totality? Normally, individual freedom is given undue importance. Individual freedom without keeping in view the totality is not freedom, it is licentiousness. It is something like, we all have freedom to drive the cars on the road. But that freedom is guarded freedom. You can't drive the way you want because traffic rules are framed keeping totality in view, not individual. But I see that side it is empty, why not go that way? No, that's not your business. In India, that is the only right thing, but not here. When you people go to India, you must be feeling that. Why people don't observe the traffic rules and all that? So there, if you observe traffic rules, somebody will come and bang you from behind. Because the people say that more than the lights which are inert, the human beings are living, they know how to negotiate and they go away. Therefore, when the rules are framed, they are keeping the totality in view and not the individuality. Therefore, external progress, success in an individual, if it is causing destruction for that society or for that group, that cannot be labeled as success. See, friends. See? Therefore, external success should never be misunderstood. I have got lot of money, I can do this thing, I can do that. No. That is the reason why taxes are imposed. Because it is something like this. In a family, there are, let us say, 3-4 children, parents, and one of the child is problematic. Either mentally retarded, or physically disabled, some kind of. Should the other members of the family take care of that child, or should he be thrown out? Those who are given the capacity, the ability to produce wealth, it is their responsibility to look after those who do not have the capacity and the ability to produce the wealth. This is the philosophy behind taxation. But if the taxes are collected with this philosophy, and if they are not utilized for the totality, but only for one's own benefit, then that success is not a success at all. See, friends. Therefore, if the success in the outer world is weakening the fiber of the society, if the success in the outer world for one individual is creating much poverty in the same society, then it cannot be called as a success. See, friends, one of the most ideal successful person, if you like to know, for whom I have got great regards, respects, and that is Mr. Ratan Tata. I have never met him. I don't know anything in his life. But 26/11, when Taj Hotel was attacked by the terrorists, after everything was over, anybody who was in that hotel, somebody was only one day employed, everyone, he has taken the responsibility of taking care of their families for the whole life. Even government doesn't do that. He says, if my people are not happy, I am no more successful in life. That is called as success. Therefore, first principle we have understood about success, individual success at the cost of the totality is an illusion of success. It is not success. Now to change this attitude, what is required is, now we must go inside. See, whom do we really help? We help somebody if we have discovered something as awareness with that person. See, you must have seen also, known also, when the mother has got 2-3 children, those who are healthy, perfect, and there is one child who is problematic, the mother loves the problematic child more than the healthy children. Because she sees herself reflected in the child and also knows that this child is not capable. Exactly the same way, if we are only growing successfully in the outer world, and if we do not grow within, the inner growth is only the spiritual growth. And what is the spiritual growth? Be very attentive. The spiritual growth is the ability to include everything and being, and not talking, supporting and promoting differences on any count. If we see in the world, we hear differences. This country, that country. Overdeveloped country, underdeveloped country, never developed country. India is a never developed country. You can't develop India. See? And then there are types of people. This religion, that religion. Our religion superior, your religion not superior. We all talk, promote only differences. And when we see differences, we cannot love each other. See, friends. Therefore, inner growth is when we are able to discover a common denominator in spite of the differences. See, friends. Now, how do we do this? This is the inner growth. Then only happiness can be discovered. It's very simple. Once there was a big conference kind of thing in Bombay, and there were 5 speakers. I was also one of them. And after the talks were over, 4 people, they kept me last. I said, let me finish quickly and go. No. We want you to be last so that you can hold the audience. They have a problem of holding the audience. So I was kept last. And then, you talk in any language you like. They gave me freedom. I said, okay, I'll talk in English. Because there were some, European and American Swami also who will not understand Hindi or any other language. So I spoke in English. Before me, he spoke. And he said, God is one. I don't understand why people fight. And with that, he concluded. And thereafter, they asked me to speak. Then I said, look here, you people were all the time listening very seriously about God and society and all that. I said, I cannot tolerate seriousness for too long. I feel very uneasy. Therefore, all the wisdom you have heard, now I will tell you a story. So relax. It was all a very grave gathering, Then I started telling a story. I said, once I went to somebody's house, and husband and wife, and they were always fighting. So I told him, I said, look here, when I came for your marriage, do you remember what message I gave you? After now you are married, you are one. Don't fight on any issue. That is the message I want to give you. I said, now after 15 years you are still fighting. What is the reason? Swamiji, you are the reason. I said, how come I am the reason? You told that we are one. We are fighting for last 15 years. Which one? In the same manner, God is one, but which one? My God or your God or his God or her God? See, friends, therefore, we look upon the world what we have seen ourselves. Now, this is the basic principle to bring change in oneself. If I consider myself to be a man, what will be my perception of the world? The world is consisting of men and women. If I consider myself to be an American, what will be my perception? The world is consisting of Americans and non-Americans. If I consider myself to be rich, then the world is consisting of rich and poor. So we look upon the world what we have taken ourselves to be. See, friends, and if I come to discover that I am this pure conscious life, then everything in this world is the same pure conscious life. Therefore, unless we discover ourselves, we will never be able to love and accept the world as it is. See, friends, this purity can come only through wisdom. This purity can come only through knowledge. And therefore, when we look upon the world, let us start with a simple technique. I'll tell you, try. Let us respect everything and everyone in this world. A very simple technique. See, when we come before the Lord, those who have respect and reverence for the Lord, when they stand before the Lord, who is benefited? The Lord is benefited or we are benefited? We are benefited. And those who do not have respect and reverence for the Lord, they will stand before the same Lord, but they are not benefited. Because the benefit is in the respectful attitude towards the world. See, friends. Therefore, what is the inner happiness? Inner happiness is an ability to respect and revere everything and being in this world. Now the question comes, under what conditions we respect or revere somebody or something? When we project something higher than us, to that only we respect and revere. See, we respect our mother. Why we respect our mother? It's not necessary that our mother has to be very beautiful, she should be very successful in the material world. No. We have seen some greatness in our mother. So wherever we discover greatness, there respect and love is natural. See, friends, now to find out the greatness and discover love, what could be the technique? There are 4 techniques by which we can initiate the process of respectful interaction with the world. A very simple technique. If somebody is elder than us in age, body-wise, he or she deserves respect. How simple it is? Like, we find out the reason how to disrespect somebody. It is a technique. Let us find out an excuse how to respect somebody. If somebody is elder than us, he or she deserves respect. And with that respectful attitude, when you interact with anybody, you will be always secured and happy. Then the happiness is discovered. Now the second thing. If somebody is material success-wise or monetarily superior than us, normally what happens? With such people, we have got jealousy. Instead of having jealousy, let us respect the wealth that the wealth has chosen him or her. See, normally people, they have very bad way of dealing or expressing about the rich people. We know how these people have become rich. Cheating the world and taking the money, we have no business. Because our attention is not on the world. We look at the world, but attention is on the quality of our mind. So if the wealth, Goddess Lakshmi, has chosen him or her, who are we to challenge that? Our idea is we should create a healthy atmosphere within our mind. Therefore, if somebody is wealth-wise rich, he or she deserves respect. The third one. If somebody is more powerful than us, he or she is able to motivate hundreds and thousands of people. That leadership quality deserves to be respected and revered. In India somewhere, when I was giving lecture somewhere, one of the politicians, Chief Minister of a state, came. So when he entered, of course, when these people come, they come with their, security and all that. So he came, so I stopped. And I said, "Sir, please come and have a seat." And then again I started my lecture. And after that all was over, then one person, he said, "Swamiji, why should you respect that minister?" I said, "Did I insult you any time?" "No." "Then if I respect him, what is wrong?" If he is a minister, he is representing n number of people behind him. And when we respect somebody, our mind is purified. Just try this. The one whom you respect and revere, think of him or her. And see the quality of your mind. And second experiment, think of him or her whom you hate up to the bone marrow. Think. And see what happens to your chemistry. Therefore, it is in our interest that we respect. Doesn't matter who it is. Here's the third technique. See? And the fourth technique is, if somebody is superior than us as regard knowledge and wisdom is concerned, he or she deserves respect. So these are the 4 excuses we find out to respect someone or the other. See? You know, sometime I was staying in a place. Normally I don't stay more than 1 week. But I was having some kind of teaching course allotted to me. So I was staying in my room, and in my room there was a small altar. And the altar is made because some people came and gave me some gods, so I kept there. So one of the devotees of Satya Sai Baba, he came and did Namaskar Chamatkar to me, and he gave me that picture because, you know, he and his wife, they were married after they consulted me, so they were very happy. So they came from Puttaparthi, gave that picture of Satya Sai Baba to me. I said, oh, thank you so much. I'll keep it in my puja. The wife says, don't give like this. Where will Swamiji do the frame? I will do the frame and give. I said, very good, take it. Then she did a beautiful frame and gave me. With such a respect and reverence, she gave me that. Can I keep it in the bathroom? So I kept it in my puja room. And when I kept it in my puja room, another person came and he said, why you are keeping his photo? He is not your guru. Why you are keeping his photo? I felt so disgusted. You claim to be a spiritual seeker, and that kind of difference. Then I said, why are you jealous? Give your photo, I will keep that also. See, friends, those who cannot see God, they are blind. See, Kabir ji used to say so beautifully. In Bhagavad Mahapurana also the same thought comes. Kabir ji used to say, we go to the temple and the mosque and start shouting, calling God. So in the man-made structures, we start suspecting God. But in the God's creation, we don't see God. See, friends, only reason is our vision is polluted. To get out of this, this is a very simple technique. We have to learn to respect and revere everyone in this world. There is none who deserves any hatred. In this manner, inner poise is maintained, external success is propitiated, the life attains a status wherein you are at peace, number one, you are free from the freedom of old age and death, hunger and thirst, and grief and sorrows. When this happens, then we have really entered the heaven. Heaven is not a place. You do something bad under the disguise of good, and then you go to the heaven, and there the 7 girls are waiting with the garland in the hand. Good, you have come after killing so many people. Now we receive you and we give you nice drinks and we will have fun. Whom are we cheating, friends? Ourselves, nobody else. one person met me somewhere and he was very disturbed. We were having a satsang, he came. The Namaskar Chamatkar, Swamiji, I don't want to go to hell. I said, don't go. It's not compulsory, it's optional. Why are you worried? Don't go. No, you don't know what I have not done. I have done every kind of crime. Looting, killing, cheating and what not. Everything I have done. And you say, I will not go to hell. I said, I promise you, you will not go to hell. He said, how come? I said, where are you now? Friends, a person who does not have peace within and love without, he is in hell. Kathopanishad defines heaven. Heaven is not a place. Technical term I will tell you. Swarga loka. Loka means an experience. Swarga, swa means yourself. Ga means gati. When you are abiding in your essential self, that experience is called as heaven. It is not a place where you go, like we go to Honolulu. No. It is not that. And those of us who are told, if you do good thing, you will go to heaven. If you do bad thing, you will go to hell. Both of them, nobody has seen either hell or heaven. It is all cheating going on. See, friends, Kathopanishad defines heaven. Swarge loke na bhayam kinchanasti na tatratvam na jaraya bibheti ubhe tirtva ashanaya pipase shokatigo modate swargaloke. 6 kinds of fears do not exist. That experience is called as living in heaven. The 6 kinds of fears are with reference to our gross body, old age and death. With reference to the prana, the life, hunger and thirst. With reference to the mind, it is grief and delusion. He who is living free from the 6 kinds of fears, he or she is living in heaven. And this heavenly experience, every one of us goes through every day when we are in deep sleep. In sound sleep. Deep sleep is called as sound sleep. You know the reason? Because in the sound sleep, we sleep and produce sound for the society. See? In that deep sleep experience, there is no fear with reference to the body, with reference to the prana, the life, with reference to the mind. And that is the reason why every one of us wants to go to sleep. Even in the satsang, we come for the satsang lecture and see, you know, it happened in some place, a big crowd right in front of me on 2 chairs next to each other. One person was listening and other person was sleeping on the shoulder of the other person. So this Kumbhakarna who was sleeping and the pillow on whom he was sleeping, I was watching from here and enjoying. And then, you know, this pillow got very annoyed, but can't say anything because lecture was going on. So he moved like this so that the Kumbhakarna falls down. But you know that Kumbhakarna was a real born sleeper. He put his hand around the pillow and pulled and again. And I was enjoying that whole thing. After the lecture was over, this sleeping giant, he was awakened from the sleep. And straight away he came to me, Swamiji, you are amazing. I said, thank you very much. What else can you talk to him? Because when he said, I am amazing, he means it. Because I could put him to sleep. And when he went away, then this pillow came. Swamiji, you have seen he was sleeping on my shoulder. Why didn't you wake him up? He was disturbing me all through the lecture. I was so angry. I said, first of all, cool down, I'll talk to you. Yes. Tell me, why you have come here for the lecture? For becoming miserable or for discovering happiness? Of course, I came for happiness. Very good. Did you get? No. He got it. See? Therefore, all those people who come in the satsang and sleep, I like them. They are the real satsangi. See, friends. Because in the deep sleep, we are one with the divine. See, in the deep sleep, we are neither man nor woman, neither Hindu nor Muslim, neither rich nor poor. We are one with the divine. See, friends. And that is the reason, when we are out of the deep sleep, maybe 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, after we are out of the really deep sleep, what is our experience? We are fresh, recharged. As if we have fixed our mobile phone to the power and it gets recharged. So in the deep sleep, we are really experiencing the heavenly joy. See, friends, that is why those who don't get sleep, how miserable they are. Then they constantly want to have some pills or drugs or drinks or something or the other. Because it is in the deep sleep alone we have the heavenly experience. There we discover happiness without anything or any being around us. See, friends, when we are able to attain this happiness while working in this world, we are living a divine life. See, in the deep sleep experience, if we analyze, number one, we are nobody. Number two, there is no sense of otherness. When there is no sense of otherness, there is no desire, there is no anger, there is no fear. Whenever there is a sense of otherness, then only desire is possible. See? I don't have watch. I look at her watch. Then I will have a desire. I wish I get some. I cannot have desire for my camera because it's already there. Anything which is recognized by us as other than I, desire pops up. In this world while living, when we include everything, we start living at zero desire level. Living at zero desire level is called as happiness within. Be very attentive. External prosperity or success is what? I want to have a Mercedes car. Nothing wrong. Have it. Then work hard, earn money and buy. Good, I got it. What is your experience? I am very happy. After that, do you get any other desire? Of course. Second desire is standing in a queue. You fulfill that desire. Third desire is standing in the queue. You fulfill that desire. Fourth is already waiting for the number. In short, we have not recognized the secret of desires. Desire one fulfillment will breed another 100 desires. And thus, if we have to say what we have done in our life, only one thing, we have only fulfilled the desires and nothing else. And yet, we have not discovered fulfillment in our life. See, friends, take an example. When we have lot of time at our disposal, we are most miserable. Lesser the time at our disposal, happier we are. All the miserable people are those who have got plenty of time at their disposal. Children are never miserable. They are never depressed because they don't have time. What they do is not important. For old people like us, oh God, again I got up. Now what do I do? There is nothing to look forward to. Everything I have. Then we start indulgence. It is heavily raining. In these rains, if there is a nice cup of tea, how wonderful it will be. It is broadcasted in the house. And poor wife, okay, I understood it. Hang around. And at, Ganpati Bappa is waiting for a cup of tea. And a cup of tea comes. Is he satisfied with that? Without pakoda, what tea? Then the pakoda comes. Mirchi nahi hai kya? Mirchi ka pakoda. Then that comes. Chutney to di nahi. There is no end. And thus, our whole life is only indulgence trying to fulfill our desires. Now be very attentive, we go still deeper. Why do we want to fulfill our desires? Inquire. If we imagine that desires are normal to human mind, then desire should not make us miserable. See, if head is normal on my shoulder, will the shoulder be tired carrying the head? No. But a purse is not normal to our shoulders. Therefore, after some time, we want to remove the purse. In the same manner, if desires were normal to the human mind, we will never want to remove the desires. What is the fulfillment of a desire? Fulfilling a desire is the removal of the desire. See, friends. And therefore, till such time, desires are erupting in our mind, we can never be happy. See? So, when we are functioning in the outer world, a different approach. But when we are functioning in the outer world, also keep an eye on what is happening inside. See, the other day, one man phoned me, Swamiji, my dad was a great fan of yours and he had all your books and CDs and he was a great student. We have got about hundreds and hundreds of his books in his library. He expired yesterday. Now we are thinking what to do with the books. So we thought, because he was fond of you, to send the books and everything to you. And when that man was alive, if you ask him, May I borrow this book? No, normally, I don't give book to others. You can read it here, Don't take the book with you, Because I have the rule is, when you give a book to somebody, lending, it never comes back. That is the rule. Because I also collected my library like that only. I got the books from the people, never returned them. This is how my library. How many things we keep on collecting, imagining it will be useful sometime late in life. I got a Gujarati friend, very nice man, very nice. He is elderly person, must be 70 or so. And he has got a very beautiful house on the banks of Narmada river. And he always tells me, Swamiji, come and stay in this house. So one day I went with him. I said, I will not stay, but come spend the day and then I have to go further. So he took me in his library. Big hall, and there must be more than few thousand books. In English, in Gujarati, in Hindi and Sanskrit. And I know, he knows only Gujarati. He doesn't know English, he doesn't know Sanskrit, and he doesn't know any other language. So I asked him, I said, my God, you studied so many books? No, I have not studied anything. Then why so many books? If somebody wants to study, see, you don't want to study. Somebody should come and study. This is how we keep on supporting our desires. Don't support, abort them. Find out, is it necessary? Many times, things that we collect, they are only garbage, not required at all. And this principle I discovered, I think I told you probably. I shifted in Bombay from one house to another house. My friend told Swamiji, this is a very small one. I have got a big apartment for you. I said, okay. Then I said, now you did it. So you shift my books. I am not going to do anything. So he packed all the books in the cartons, about 20 or 30 cartons. Big library. That's the only possession I have. So he shifted in that. And thereafter, every time I go to Bombay for maybe 1 week and so many things to do. So that one room was packed with these cartons. I could not use it. 1 day, 2 days, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. And it was a burden on my head. Oh, I had to open and see the books, do this. Finally, one day God's grace came. And I wrote to one of my librarian friend that I have got so many books. I wish to donate it to your library. You come and collect, this is the address, and I will write to my friend. So he came, collected all the books and went and wrote me. Swamiji, we have received the books, everything. I have prepared the list. When you come, please sign for our records. When I received that email that all the books are taken, wherever I was, I felt relieved. Ah, thank God it has gone. Now where were those books? They were not on my head. They were in my mind. Anything that you possess is a burden. When you belong, it is a freedom. External success is possession. Therefore, it is a burden. Inner peace or happiness, when we belong to the divine, it is freedom. See the difference, friends. Therefore, work in the outer world, no doubt, dynamically. Achieve success, but not at the cost of peace within. When this balance is perfectly maintained, then alone we have lived a meaningful life. Otherwise, our life becomes, we have got everything but nobody to talk with. Old people have got this problem. They want free audience. That is why people like us. When I went to somebody's house, a Punjabi house in Delhi, that old lady, she will start. The moment I go, Swamiji, please sit down, I want to tell you. And then she will start her pathetic story. When I got up in the morning, I had such pain in my heels, and then the pain started migrating, and her discussion and description is so live that you start getting pain in yours. So her grandson, he called, Swamiji, 1 minute. I went, how can you tolerate the same thing Dadi Ma tells you every day? He said, what can I do? Do what we used to do. What do you do? I asked him. He said, we show her fingers. Dadi Ma, you told this 3 times. Then she keeps quiet. I said, very good. So I went, Swamiji, what I was telling you, I forgot. But never mind, I will tell you. Then immediately I said, Mama, 25 times you have told me this thing. Enough. Go within. If you are at peace with yourself, you don't require company, you don't require things, and the joy starts expressing as humming. Either the Lord's name or some music or something. Then only we have attained a palpable, perfect balance in our life. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.